Today, I'm at Callaway's tour facility with fitting expert Johnny Thompson, and we dive into one of the most important yet most overlooked parts of the short game. Johnny walks me through exactly what each grind is designed to do, who it suits, and how finding the right combination can help golfers play with more confidence and consistency. So without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to ECPC. I'm joined by Johnny Thompson, and we're going to look into different sort of wedge grinds and bounce options. Interestingly, we were talking off camera how when I used to play at the start of my career, I don't think it was ever a thing to get fitted for wedges. I think maybe because we didn't have as many options.
Yeah, very true. And now, like with our new Opus SPs, we have 5 grinds.
Yeah.
And you guys, I mean, even for you, like London based, but you play all over the world. Mm-hmm. It's even more important for you to find that one because you need one that's good on all kinds of different types of turf. Mm-hmm. So for the people at home that maybe don't travel as much and they have a consistent turf that they play off of, whether it's like super firm seaside or maybe if you get a little more inland and it's wet, it's really important to kind of determine where you play the most golf in this fitting, because that's going to dictate a lot of where you go and wedge grinds.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to start with a pretty basic shot. You know, we're going to carry this 15, 20 feet. It's going to release 20, 25 feet. So I'm going to start you with the S grind. Sure. So as we go through, I'm going to have you hit a couple with each grind and talk a little bit about, you know, what either condition or player that grind is best for. So S has a very symmetrical sole, kind of mid to narrow sole. It's kind of the fit all grind.
Looks very straight to me.
Yeah, it's very, very simple. So this is for maybe a player that will open the face a little bit from time to time, but not like super wide open.
Let's hit a few.
And what we look for, if we're sitting here doing a wedge fitting, I'm listening to the impact, because that sound of the club hitting the ground, as I give you things that have more bounce or less bounce, that sound and impact start to separate.
Yeah, you can just feel that just gliding through, right?
So that's the S grind. So T grind, lower bounce.
Ooh, I like the look of this. Because when you have more loft, for me anyway as a player, I like to see that bit of the toe and that sort of heel area a little bit more exposed, whereas that one was a lot straighter. So I feel like the S grind would be great for almost that basic shot. But if you're a sort of player who does like to adapt a little bit more, maybe, from what I can see, this is a bit more of that sort of...
The T grind, it stands for tour. So you pretty much led us right into it.
Well, there we go.
So definitely a T grind is going to have your lowest bounce option, but it also has that heel and toe relief. And what that allows the player to do is either one, open the face, get it wide open and keep that leading edge low to the ground. So bunker shots, flop shots, really great. But then that little toe relief too, because you'll see a lot of chips where guys get their hands, gals get their hands really high, and that helps keep the leading edge, you know, lower to the ground.
100%.
Now, the window of opportunity with tour grind, when you get the leading edge that low, like you do with the T grind, that can get pretty tight. Like it can get a little, if you're steep or you're not as clean with your impact, it can get a little bit tough. So this is the tour test here with you, Inci.
So with the S grind, it's funny you say that, because naturally it almost forced me to play that kind of neutral setup shot. Whereas with the T grind, when I put that club down, naturally it just makes me want to open it up. But like you said, if you open it up, it's going to force me to have a bigger swing. And especially, you know, I'm from the UK, you know, there's sometimes more mud than grass. So when you do open it up and you expand your swing like that, your kind of margin for error, probably a little bit more prone to that chunky monkey. So
that or the overreaction of, oh, I don't want to chunk it. And
so see, I mean, look at that swing. Naturally, I just kind of want to go for a fuller shot.
So super firm ground, great for T grinds. You know, players that like to use a lot of different face angles when they're chipping and pitching, awesome for that. If you're a player that gets a little steep and probably, you know, chunk it more than you don't, then T grind can get a little bit tougher.
Again.
Pretty good. But then the C grind is basically a higher bounce version of the T. So similar shape, but a little bit more bounce. So most use on tour, like tons of C grinds and play on tour, because, you know, even on PGA, LPGA, they play on some firm ground, then they go up in the Northeast, play on some soft, you know, bent stuff. So they need a wedge that's great for all kinds of different turfs, but you know, better action where the face is opening and releasing. They can play these lower bounce options, but you'll see a lot more C's in play.
And you can almost see that C shape.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the reason why, but you could almost see that C shape a bit more in the wedge itself.
And before we started making these, we made an S grind and that was it. And our wedge grind back in the day, our wedge grinder would sit there on the wheel and just basically create that C shape. So we did him a solid and just started making it a standard option.
Right, well, grabbed, didn't it? That was nice. And that's the thing, when you're getting a wedge fit, you do want to try that. Obviously, we're playing from a relatively neutral lie here, but you know, play those shots out of that rough or out of that tight lie or wet or firm ground. You got to kind of test it all out.
So I'm listening to your contact, and I'm hearing, you know, bounce and ball pretty tight on each other. So like, you know, pinching it, or kind of like how would you call that? Like you're catching ball and ground kind of at the similar time. If you go to something that has way too little of bounce for you, you'll hear ball first, and then you know, you'll hear the ground a little bit later. And sometimes with that much loft, you can get some face riders where it starts to skid up the face. So it's marrying that attack angle, the turf you use, the technique to make sure that the bounce kind of fits you. And these are sounding pretty good. Like the square face S was good, square face C pretty good. T started to get a little thin sounding, and that's just because there's just not a lot of mass there. So hit one more, and then I'm gonna have you hit this X grind.
I also think as a player or a golfer, you need to ask yourself that question. So with a 58, what sort of shots do I want to be using this sort of club for, right? Whereas, so yeah, I mean, for me, I'll be searching for versatility because it's my SOS club. Whereas that kind of middle wedge out on my 3, for instance, that's where I'm searching for that bit of stability or kind of like stock shot option. And then you've got the 52 where you've gonna go for that kind of fuller pitch shot. And then for me anyway, I think that's where the S grind comes in a little bit more so. So I just think understanding what sort of shot and what sort of player or golfer you are definitely helps with that decision making. Right.
There you go. Should we just end it right there? Yeah, there's your wedge. All right, now you gotta hit some more. So X grind, this is a really cool design, and we went away from it in Opus, but we brought it back for SP. A lot of people were very upset with us that we didn't do the X grind in Opus, but now it's back. So what you'll see is somewhat of a C shape, kind of like you saw on the other one, but if you look at it this way, you can see how much more, like how much higher this ridge is here versus the leading edge.
Does that force you to have a bit more leaning edge and play for that trappier shot?
So couple things. It gives you the ability to get steeper. And if the ground's soft, so these are great for like soft conditions, you can get a little bit steeper, and as that leading edge gets under the ball, and because this is pushed so far forward, you can still get kind of like that sound and feel that you're getting with the C and the S. But you can be on softer turf, get steep, and then when this kicks in, it levels it out and puts the ball up in the air. It's a really good option for players that are steep at attack angle, like in general, like even with their full swings, but if they're steep chippers, it's a great option. And then even for players that play a lot on like wet, kind of softer turf. Because
I definitely also feel the kind of old school technique is where they're a little bit more back-footed, in the UK or Europe anyway. They're a little bit more back-footed, and they're definitely kind of hinge and holders. And I think this wedge, it's so prominent in that angle that you just highlighted there.
Yeah, so like that hinge and hold you're talking about, if you don't have enough bounce, like it can get tough because your window of opportunity, you better be catching that ball first every single time. Where like you can do that same tech you just talked about with the X, but you have some bouncers so that you can ball first and then catch some ground and kind of keep the flight
naturally
up.
For sure. Like, look at that setup, so different to that T where I'm almost a little bit further back, a little bit more neutral shafted because I've got to
you see that leading edge so low that you're like, well, if I go this way, it ain't coming out of the ground.
No, no, it's so funny. Like pinchy. It's almost like when you play pool or snooker, it almost feels like you've got that effect when you're trying to play that sort of pinchy shot, I think. You don't know snooker?
Just kidding. I mean, probably a few Americans that don't know what it is, but I do know.
It's a British game, right?
Well, I just remember Danny Willett talking about snooker all the time.
I bet I think a lot of golfers are quite good at snooker. Pinchy. You can hear it when it interacts with the ground.
You want to hear ball ground, like with that shot right there.
Not as good, but I get the idea still.
But so let's talk about that last one.
Yeah, I mean,
that
look, that's the first sort of divot, right?
The ball's 5 feet short. If that same technique was tee grind, that ball's halfway
for sure
here, because it would have kept going into the dirt, but that little trailing edge bounce kicks in, and you know, it's almost like forgiveness on a bad
we can
chip.
all do a bit of that, to be honest. What's
and then,
the last one?
And then the last one is the W grind, which is similar idea to the X in that, you know, there's more bounce, but this is also a wider sole. So the W grind is great for players that want to see, they want help getting the ball up in the air, like chipping off it, because the CG is going to be a little bit lower. There's more mass underneath the hit. It's very, very easy to maintain height on chips, where some of these other ones, you can slide it under quicker, less bounces involved, so sometimes you can hit kind of that lower spinnier shot a little bit easier, where this is like, I like to stop chips with height. W's are awesome.
So just by looking at this, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks a little bit more one-dimensional. Like it looks like if you've got that sort of stock action and you need the ball to go up, this would be a sort of...
If you're somebody who plays around with how much you open, like around here, like if you're off the tight ground and you're like, oh, I'm gonna throw this one up in the air, you start to get into a place where you gotta be a little bit more precise than you would with something that has some heel relief, like in the X and the C and the T. So this is kind of, you know, maybe the player that has less face angle in their chipping, you know, kind of not one-dimensional, but just less. You can see that one launched higher and spun lower. But if that's just how you like want to, like I just want to get it up in there and get it going this direction, like it's a really good option because the CG's lower. And then in bunkers, it's phenomenal in bunkers. So if you hate sand and you just, you can take the biggest swing you can, just make sure you hit behind the ball and the ball goes straight up in the air. It's a great option. So let's hit a couple longer ones, because I'm thinking that I'm really interested in you in this X grind. All right, Inci, I brought you over here. We're gonna put a little bit more speed behind these. We're sticking with this X grind here. I want to see, so what we noticed over there on that shorter shot where the ground was a little harder over there, like you could hit that little trapper, you really felt ball first contact, you felt the club working through the ground, and then we caught one a little early, but we got a lot out of it because you had that bounce to kick in and help you get the ball moving towards the target. Well,
this one, like we're on a slight downhill, so I think maybe go for that flag right at the back.
Let's do it.
There's obviously, you know, quite a bit of elevation. Typically when you chip to an elevated green, the ball's landing a lot flatter. So it maybe won't spin as much, but interestingly...
Don't discount these SPs.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It feels as though I could probably get this to go.
Well, that's what's so cool about this shot is because you kind of set it up, like that X having the amount of bounce it does, but move forward, you can hit this shot, you can get this thing up and still maintain spin.
That's the thing, you know, naturally looking at that shot and what I need to do, naturally I've just opened up the club there, yet it's still sitting so nicely.
So for a player like you being having a versatile sole where you have some heel relief where you can open it up, not see the leading edge come out, all good things here.
Okay, well, let's see what happens. Go on. That's quite nice. We're on a downhill slope as well. It's funny because this is a very different sort of turf, the grass. So even in my practice swings there in the rehearsal, it feels a little stickier. So
we want to maintain speed. And that's nice because if you don't have enough bounce for your technique in this situation and you have to maintain speed with this much aloft, you know, you can get those ones that kind of skid up the face really easily. But you got enough here where you can get down on it, kind of trap it, and it's still going to launch up in the air and have spin.
I mean, that wasn't my best strike, but still kind of getting away with it. It's a little better. That'd be quite nice. And so do you have a sort of, you know, this is my most lofted club in the bag. Do you see some sort of trend? I mean, do the players regularly switch out the sort of grinds and type of bounces they've got depending on where they're playing?
Yes, correct. A lot of players do have a low bounce option and a mid bounce option. They will keep the overall shape of the sole very, very constant, but just maybe have a little bit more bounce. But like the amount of heel and toe relief is usually the same on it. It's just they might have a 6 option and then an 8 option or a 10 or something like that, just depending on turf. And then you get to like Augusta or the Open, everybody for the most part is using their lower bounce option. But that's where like having a lot of options like this, and for people at home, like they kind of play on one turf that maybe they don't travel as much as like a tour player. So it's really important to find like
For
where
sure.
you play, like focus on that style turf.
Yeah, for sure. What's more important? Here's a question for you: the bounce, like the amount of bounce a player's got, or the grind?
It's a combination.
I was hoping you'd say one.
Yeah, no, because you know, some players have more face angle change depending on the lie. Because a lot of, you know, good players, they walk up to a shot. Like if I kick that ball over there, like the first thing I'm going to do when I come in here with my wedge is I'm going to look at it. I'm looking at the lie.
Yeah.
Because if this thing settles here, the face angle I'm going to use and the technique I'm going to use is going to be different than if that ball was sitting like that.
Yes.
So reading the lie is super important because that's going to dictate how much you're going to open or close, or you know, the type of shot you're going to hit. You might be a little steeper, might be a little bit more shallow. So like, you know, you got to have a wedge that has a little bit of that versatility where you can have some play on the face if you're at that level. Now, if you're just at a point where you're like, man, chipping, I'm trying to get it on the green. Like, I don't care what the lie is. I need this thing on the green.
Yeah.
That's where like there's some options where, you know, maybe you don't want all that heel and toe relief and you want some mass that's
Sometimes
underneath
it complicates
low.
it, doesn't
Makes
it?
it a little harder. So you just, you know, there's nothing wrong with grabbing a wedge that just has, you know, a forgiving bounce for that player.
I do really like the look of this one. There we go. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
That's gonna.
So what would be fun on this shot? Don't be afraid. I want to see you put some speed behind it and like really like, don't be trying to like sweep at it, because you got enough bounce there where you can throw some speed on it.
So we want like a little zippy one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any cars over that fence, or are we safe?
Because what I think you'll see with this X grind is there's enough bounce there that you don't have to be so fast and try to cut the legs out from underneath it to get height.
Small, this section, isn't it?
It's a narrow sole, so that's great for getting it underneath the ball. But then having that bounce there, you don't really have to be like super cutty, super fast, super left to try to hit like a high soft one. If you deliver that thing and just let that right hand just kind of dump under it, it'll kick way up in the air and you don't have to do it all with speed.
Bring it on, let's do it. Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, that just glides underneath, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That was nice.
I'll be interested if you know, when you take this X grind home and you have some time to work with it. Like I really think you're going to be like, hey, I get it. Like, but it'll take a little bit of getting used to. But these flop shots are so much easier when you have some bounce like this.
Wow. I mean, that's a tiny bit long, but it just glides through, doesn't it?
So same shot, but just give me like
little less.
3/4 of the speed. Don't feel like you have to like massively accelerate at it. So much better there.
Just a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, but you see how high that got.
Yeah.
So that's in an X grind. That's all that bounce kicking in and working the ball up, as opposed to you having to be super, super fast and try to cut the legs out from under it. Inci, I think the X grind is going to be really, really fun for you. You're going to see on firmer turf, you can close it down, get a little bit more pinchy, but you're going to actually have something that'll level out and work out of the turf. And then when you get in these little funky areas where you're trying to stop something maybe a little bit more with height, you don't have to be so fast and so cutty with it. You can just let the bounce do its job.
Absolutely. The test that I really like to do when it comes to wedges is doing the 3-ball sort of challenge. So chipping is such a versatile part of the game. Obviously, when you're driving the golf ball, you've got a flat tee box, you've got the perfect height every single time, got a big old target. Chipping forces a lot more creativity. You've got a different lie, like you said, that you've got to read each time. So I really like doing the neutral, lean, and the flop
Let's do it.
test.
Let's do it.
So if it passes that, it just shows how versatile something could be. So if you're going to do a test, you might as well make it quite hard. And if you pass, it's a pass, right? So I think the number 9 flag is a really good one, because I've got loads of room short to play that kind of bump and run shot. And then I've got to be quite clever for maybe the neutral shot. And then obviously I've got the option to kind of fly it all the way if I wanted to. So should we go for the kind of back-footed one? And that's where the sole here, you know, you can have that sort of lean action. And get that kind of toe in and releasing it. So I'm seeing this land maybe, is it dangerous to announce it? Maybe like 2 yards onto the green. Let gravity do its thing. There you go. Try to release a little bit.
You've picked a
I picked a tough flag, to be honest. Should we go kind of polar opposite and try and fly it all the way? So we talked about when you open that up, it still sits quite nicely there.
That leading edge is down, you're gonna be able to get under the ball, but then the bounce is gonna kick in and get the height. So this is the one we were talking about, like, let that right hand work and don't worry about being super, super fast.
Okay. Oh, nice.
Closer there, yeah.
I mean, a tough flat, but super,
but that's
super
it right
soft.
there. Like, you didn't have to, like, add all that speed at the bottom because you had a grind that allows you to
I need to update my bag.
Yeah.
I need an X grind in my 58.
I know a guy that knows a guy.
So a bit of a neutral finish. Let's see if I can learn my lesson and go a little left. There you go, just super neutral. Let the 58 thing do its job. I think that's a good one to end on.
You gave yourself the hardest test ever trying to chip it there. Hey,
Johnny,
X grind.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
I learned something new today.
Yeah, I want a full report after you get home and get a chance to put some.
I need to figure out what I'm going to stamp on them as well.
That's Anthony. Yeah, you gotta get to meet Anthony on that.
So you know a guy?
I know a guy.
Nice.